Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome to How to Be a Competitive Applicant. Um, and for the first part, I would like everyone to be muted. If you have any questions, feel free to leave any comments in the chat, and we'll get to them after our Q&A. But welcome, everybody. My name is Ayah Elshaer, and I'll be the host for the presentation today. And yeah, let's get started. So a little bit about me is I graduated from Heritage High School, class of 2015, and then I was offered admissions at a numerous amount of UCs, and I accepted my admissions at UC Irvine. I spent 2 years there. I was a biology major, and then I decided to transfer over to Berkeley. That was the only UC that I did an intertransfer to. I just graduated last May, so it took me 4 years for my undergrad, and I just graduated from Berkeley with a degree in integrated biology with an emphasis in human biology. So I'm in the process right now of actually applying to dental school, and I decided I'm taking a couple of years gap just kind of to find myself and work on applications, be super competitive. But I actually just finished this past May a associate's degree in small business management, just in case, hopefully, opening up my own practice one day. So yeah, if at any time during this presentation you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll get through them later on today. Okay. So what we're going to be covering today, we are going to be covering first college options, the different kinds, junior college, public universities, private universities, and then we're going to go into requirements, A through G courses, SAT and ACT. I know that for the next 4 years, ACT and SATs are not going to be required, but we're going to talk about how they're going to be super helpful for your applications, especially because they're not required. And then we're going to go into high school recommendations that you should be taking, and then a couple of school profiles, what UCs and CSUs are taking in, what their statistics are, as well as going into our Q&A. Okay, so college options. There are numerous amount of options that you can decide to do. The first one is junior college. There's pros and cons to every single option, and to be honest with you, there isn't a right choice. It depends on the person, it depends on the major, it depends on the school, everything. There is no number one college or university or the right choice. It all depends on the person and what they want out of their undergraduate years. So starting off with junior college, one of the biggest pros is cost of tuition. So for every California resident, first time, full time, you get free tuition. Everything is paid for in regards to tuition. About $42 a unit after that, if you don't qualify for any financial aid, but it is a very, very affordable option compared to other universities and other, regardless if it's private or public. The most important thing to understand is you still have to apply to FAFSA. So FAFSA is every single college. I recommend every single college student to apply, regardless if you're going to junior college, private, public, even if your parents make a lot of money, you don't think you're going to be qualified. So everyone is qualified for at least something. So we have grants. Most people are eligible for grants. Grants do not have to be paid back. They are like a gift from the government to go to school. And then we have loans, which are most of the time people whose parents make a little bit more than what is considered average are offered loans, which are paid back later on, about 6 months after you graduate. If you decide to go to graduate school or any other kind of schooling, it gets deferred, which is pretty nice. So FAFSA is very, very important. It's a big deadline. It's due around March 2nd every single year. It's just a lot of information about yourself, how much your parents make, how many are in the household, all that fun stuff. If you have older siblings or even younger siblings, they do give you an option to carry over the data, so you're not repeating this amount of information, but there is going to be an option for you as well as your parents to fill out. There's no fee or anything, so I definitely recommend everyone to send in their FAFSA. So another thing about junior college, which is super important, is flexible schedule. So they are known to be flexible because most of the time people are choosing the junior college route because they are going to be working. They're working either full time or even part time. So they do offer flexible schedules, morning, afternoon, and a lot of night classes as well, which is super nice. Another pro to this is exploring majors. So most people do take junior college to use their first 2 years. So every single person, regardless if you're going to a public, private, or a junior college, will have to take general education courses. Those are, for the most part, 1 year of English, 1 year of calculus. Regardless of your major, you have to do it. There's also a history portion that you have to take, humanities, about 3 courses in humanities/arts, as well as social sciences, as well as physical and life science. So everyone has to take these courses. And the good thing is they make you take these courses as a buffer. Just in case you decide to switch majors, you are exposed to these classes. And if you do decide to switch your major, you're most likely not likely to switch again, which is super nice. So a lot of people decide to take these 2 years, the first year, as at community college because it's affordable and you're taking not really your major classes, but kind of your general education. Another pro is smaller class sizes. So your class sizes are going to be just like in high school, about 30 to 40 people, not more than that, even sometimes smaller than that. It all depends on the class and if people want to take that specific class. This is also a big pro because there is more likely now, uh, when you have smaller classes, you are more likely to form bonds, friends. It's easier that way. You form connections with your professors, all that fun stuff. So it's smaller classes. You have kind of more. You can kind of. And with junior college, you are transitioning from high school to a kind of it is a college, but it's not as stressful as a transition because everything is pretty much the same. It's just the information is a little bit more complex. It's more of a university level. The biggest myth that I hear about junior college is qualified professors. So you are not going to get unqualified professors at the junior college. They have the same amount of training, the same amount of experiences, the same amount of degrees as professors that are at 4 years. So you actually end up using the same exact books as some of the UCs and the state schools at these junior colleges. Specifically, we have around the area, we have the Contra Costa Community College District, which has 3 schools, Contra Costa, Las Madonnas College here in Pittsburgh, and then we have Diablo Valley College in Pleasant Hill and San Ramon. So this myth that we don't have qualified professors at junior college is totally not true. The professors are exactly the same level as the university level. But some cons. We do have limited curriculum. Again, it's because most people spend these 2 years doing their general education. You're not going to find specific classes for your major as you would at the university level, because even at the university level, you take these specific courses your last 2 years, and most people don't spend more than 2-3 years at the junior college. So it's very general. Most of the people that go to junior college, they are assuming that you are going to be transferring over and finishing up your degree, because most of the degrees that are at junior college are either associate's degrees, certificates, or transfer certificates. So that's why it's kind of limited in their curriculum. The cons, it is a lighter workload. You won't have busy work like you did in high school. There's actually, when you go to university and college altogether, there's lighter workload in everything. But there's a lot more studying you have to do on your own. They're not going to tell you to study, you just have to study. So most of your exams will be heavily weighted, about 60-70%. If there is homework, it's going to be very, very minimal. It's going to be 10% of your grade, even sometimes 5%. They drop grades, the lowest grades get dropped and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of emphasis on your grades and specifically your exams. So it's super important to be studying even though you might not be assigned any work. Uninvolved students. So I put a little star next to this because this can actually be both a pro and a con. So there's uninvolved students, so it's going to be a little bit hard finding friends and forming study groups. But also it gives you an opportunity to shine in your classes. So if you do end up transferring over to, say, a private schools where a letter of recommendations are required, this is your golden ticket in. You will be meeting with professors. You are going to be the star in your class. Most of the time, these students, you can save your letter of recommendations. You form bonds with these professors that actually are lifetime. And when you go into graduate schools, if you don't need your letter of recommendations right away, you can actually ask them once you go into like grad school, masters, all of those programs need letter of recommendations. So you can email your professors from community college for letter of recommendations, and they'll remember you because there is a lot of uninvolved students. So you have more of an ability to shine, which is nice. Campus life, there is no really campus life. It's just like high school, to be honest with you. You're in, you're out. A lot of people don't really spend that much time on campus. The libraries are pretty much full, but everyone's kind of to themselves because it's quiet. There's computer labs and everything, but most people kind of go to classes and then go home. So that's about junior college. Remember, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get through them later on. Okay, so our public and private universities, specifically in California. So we have two types of public universities. We have our CSU, California State Universities. We have 23 of them. And then we also have our University of California schools. We have 10 of them, but one of them is not offered for undergraduate admissions. That is UCSF. That is strictly graduate school admissions. So we have 9 of them right there. And then we also have our popular universities that are private in California, and that is Stanford University, USC, University of Southern California, Santa Clara University is pretty popular, University of the Pacific, University of San Francisco, St. Mary's College, pretty close to us, as well as University of San Diego. So there's a lot of options, and to be honest with you, there is no better school than the other. It just depends on you as well as your major. Okay, so now we're going to go into the differences between public and private universities. So public universities are known to be more affordable. They're not as affordable as our junior college, but they are affordable and they have lower tuition rates compared to private universities. Public universities also have more diversity. There is a lot more people applying to these schools, thousands and thousands, and if not 100,000s. So, and they don't have kind of like in private universities, they have a specific type of students that they apply private universities, because most of these private universities are either kind of religious-based universities or historically Black colleges. So they have a specific type of students that they can, that they look for and that apply to those universities. Public universities, however, we have much more diversity all over the world, all over different cultures. We have a lot of out-of-state as well. So there's a lot more diversity with public universities, as well as larger campuses and student bodies. We have the public universities are huge. There are at least 30,000 people on campus throughout the years, as well as larger class sizes. Your first 2 years at public universities, you will have classes that have 400, 300 people. It's a lot of people, especially like I remember my first classes, I were taking biology and chemistry for my major. Those classes were 300, 400, not even, sometimes even 450. Which is nice because you're kind of guaranteed spots in these classes. There's also the course availability. So even though my class was 300, 400 people, there was other sections that were also 300 and 400 class sizes. So there was 1,600 people, 1,600 of us that were taking the same bio class, the same chemistry class, but different professors in different times. So there's a lot of course availability at this level of public universities. But a con to that is low communication with professors. There is hundreds and hundreds of students for each professors. Professors have, at public universities specifically, they are teaching at least 2 classes a semester, a quarter, as well as research, as well as they're supervising graduate students. So they have a lot of responsibilities. They have a lot of students. And sometimes you will email your professors an important question, they will not respond to you. It's not because they don't care or they're ignoring you, it's just they are flooded with emails. The best opportunity to make connections with those professors because you want those letter of recommendations. That is where people get stuck when they start applying to masters and graduate schools, is letter of recommendations. Everything will need a letter of recommendation. The best way to get those and secure them is office hours. Professors offer about 4 hours a week where you can come to their office, talk, chat. It's a smaller setting. Not a lot of people show up to office hours because they're intimidated, but it's actually super nice. Typically, there's about 10 people that show up to office hours. They do mornings, afternoon, nighttime to kind of accommodate for everybody, but it's also dependent on the professor and his responsibilities. When we look at private universities, they are the highest. They have the highest tuition rates, but it's not to discourage anyone, because if you apply for FAFSA, you have financial aid as well as scholarships. Private universities have higher rates of scholarships. Scholarships, again, you do not have to pay them back, as well as grants. Loans, you do have to pay them back, but to be honest with you, everyone that I know, every person that has gone to Heritage, all my teachers at Heritage have talked about how they are still paying their university loans. It's very minimal. It won't affect you. I'm going into dental school with like $500,000 in student loans after I finish. So don't worry about that. It just kind of comes with the territory of going to school here. Don't let that, if that is your only con or only thing holding you back from your dream university, it will work itself out, trust me. Just make sure that you're applying to a lot of scholarships. Even Heritage and all the other Liberty Union District schools, they do offer scholarship night for seniors, so get on top of that. Write your essays. You can apply online to different scholarships as well as when you get in your first year, your second and third and fourth year, you are offered tons of scholarships. You either submit an application, a couple of essays, all that kind of stuff, say why you're applying to the scholarship, what makes you special, why should they give you that kind of this amount of money, and it'll work yourself out. There's a lot of opportunities, so don't let money be the only reason that holds you back. For private universities, again, there's specific type of students that apply and get admitted at these schools, because there's also specific major programs. So there's more specificity in these majors. It just depends on who owns the university, what it's known for. If it's research, you will find very, very specific majors at these private universities, but it's also not going to be as diverse as public universities. So if you wanted to just be like general bio, you will find that it's very common, but if you're looking kind of for like cog-sci or majors that are not as popular, you won't be able to find that most of the time at private universities. Again, like community college and high school, you do have smaller class sizes. There isn't a large student body as in public universities. So it's very, very close to community college. But there is a difference, is that people care, people want to be there. You can actually form these bonds with other people at the school, especially because you have similar interests in academics, as well as culture, religion, all that kind of stuff where we see in private universities. Private universities also come with Common Application. So Common App is a application that you fill out and you send to numerous private universities, such as the CSU and UCs. They have their own application, but the Common App is just a bit more general. It's all the out-of-state private universities, in-state private universities. Almost every single private university is through the Common App, which is pretty nice. One application for all of them, but there is supplemental applications for each individual university. They'll ask a couple of questions. Why specifically do you want to go to USC? What's special about you? So there is secondary applications that we don't see in public universities, but we do see in private universities. So that is another thing to watch out for. Okay, going into UCs and CSUs, the main differences. So University of California, they have about 900 bachelor programs versus Cal State universities, they have about 2,700. So almost 3 times more bachelor programs at state schools, which another thing is, do your research. If you're looking for a specific major, you might find it at the state university and not at the University of California level. So keep that in mind. Tuition and fees. This is just tuition. It's about $14,000 average. Some are a little bit above, some are a little bit below, but it's just in the hundreds. It's not like a huge difference. And then for Cal State, it is about $5,742. After everything, room and board for the UCs, it does reach about from like $29,000 to $32,000, depending on the area and everything. But again, apply for FAFSA. You'll get some grants, some scholarships, financial aid. It will work itself out. For the SATs and the SATs, so they are usually required for the UC level, but they are not required for the next 4 years. At the UCs and CSUs, private universities, each one is different. You're going to have to double check with them, but most schools are kind of putting that on hold. Even a lot of medical schools are actually not requiring the MCAT anymore for the next, just for the next year. They haven't said like the UCs within the next 4 years, but look into your private universities. For the state schools, SATs and ACTs are not required, but they are required for impacted majors. So typically, you'll see that at San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, San Diego State University, and San Jose University for their impacted majors, like either it's psychology or engineering. They will be required, but they're not as competitive. So I would definitely take these exams. They are standardized, but they do typically show college admissions, your college readiness. So even though it's not required, I would definitely take them. We'll be talking more about why you should take them. But yes, I think it's very important to be taking these exams. Okay, for essay prompts. The UCs are going to be releasing them pretty soon, but there is 8 options you pick from, and you pick 4 of those 8 to answer. They're very brief. It's about, I think, 350 words to 500 max. And there's different questions about why you want to go to college, why do you want to do this major, what's an experience that you had where you failed, how did you fail, what did you do to get better, what's a special talent that you have, all that kind of stuff. So there's 8 prompts, and you pick 4 out of them. State schools don't have that, but we do see them in private schools as well. They're just kind of all over the place. Some private schools don't have them, some do have them. It all depends on the university that you're going to. So for applications, you could just type in Google UC applications. It'll bring you up to apply.universityofcalifornia.edu, as well as for the Cal State universities, it's calstate.edu/apply. Typically, they do open in August, and the deadline is November 30th. But there is different priority ratings. For the UCs, you actually can't start applying until November 1st. For state universities, there is priority, and it's a little bit earlier, but it just depends on the university. But for the most part, November 30th is kind of a cutoff for most of these schools. Again, so there isn't a better university. There's not a better option. It's right person, right choice, right major, right school. So it all depends on the person and what you want out of that school. But overall, UCs are known to be world-class public universities. We even say, some people, well, a big majority of people claim that UCLA and UC Berkeley are considered public Ivy Leagues. So that's how high their education system is. We have premier academics at the UC level. We are known to be very selective when we're picking our students, and almost every single UC is known for its research. With Cal State universities, they're very large. We have high quality public universities, and their education system is very good, but they're known to be affordable, which is great, and they do have flexible class offerings compared to UCs. Okay, now we're going to high school requirements, A through G courses. So your GPA, your freshman year grades do not count. Your GPA is calculated based on only A through G, so PE is not included in your GPA, even if you get an A. Courses like that, such as even your TA periods, your study halls, your sports classes, those are not considered in your GPA. Basically, your 10 through 12 is what we're looking for, and it's specifically A through G courses. So sophomore and your junior year grades are the only thing that matter. And the reason why senior year doesn't matter is because you are applying during your senior year. They will look at your senior year grades. In January, they'll ask you to update your grades. So it's super important your first year to keep on track with what you've been receiving in your GPA for the past like 2 years. And then when you graduate, they're going to be making sure that you passed all your classes with at least a C or above. If you do not pass with a C or above, your admissions is actually revoked, and they can take that away from you. And they do state that. So it's called a conditional admissions, conditional. Also, something super important to consider is every single high school in California, at the end of junior year, your counselors will send your GPA and your information to all the UCs. If you are a California state citizen and you rank in the top 9% of your class, you will be guaranteed admission to a UC. It's not a specific UC, it's whatever UC. It's most likely the UC Merced, Riverside, those schools, but you are offered admissions at a UC. You don't even apply, your counselors actually just send that out, that information. I was planning on applying to state universities, but my senior year, when I came back in September, I got offered admissions to UC Riverside. So I decided UC Riverside was going to be my backup school, and I did not end up applying to state universities. However, if you are considering that backup school, you need to apply to it again. They will tell you to save your position. You need to apply again to that university because you didn't apply the first time. They were given your name, but they did offer you. You need to apply again to show that you are serious about this offer and you're considering it, but you'll automatically be accepted. Okay, CSU and UC applications. So we're gonna look at these requirements. You have probably seen these in many of your classes. Okay, so A through G. A is our history and social sciences. So there's a lot of required classes for history and English. The high school requirements are almost exactly the same as the CSU and UC requirements. So for history and social sciences, you need to at least require 2 years of a science. At the Liberty Union School District, we are required to take world history, sophomore year, US history, junior year, and then senior year, we have economics and American government. That's 3 years already that the school requires to graduate from high school. The UCs and the CSUs only require 2 years, so you're all set. But I totally, definitely recommend that you do above and beyond. To be competitive in these schools, you want to do more than what they're asking for. So if they're asking for only 2 years, everybody will graduate with at least 3. Do that 4th year. So if you were a freshman and you took, say, world cultures or AP human geography, or you end up taking like your junior year, senior year, AP European history, go for it. More is better. When we move into the B area, that's English. You have to take 4 years of 4 years of English regardless to graduate. So you need 4 years at the requirement UC and CSU requirements. For math, we need 3 years of math as a requirement. I think the high school requires only just 2, but I would definitely do 4 if you can. I know that math isn't everybody's favorite topic, but definitely try to do 4 years of the math. Try to get at least to pre-calculus, because you want to, almost every single major requires at least 1 year of calculus. So you want to get into calculus as a college student. But the CSUs and the UCs want you to at least be to the Algebra 2 level, to finish with Algebra 2. Okay, once we get into D, these are our sciences. We at high school, we require biology and chemistry. Some people start off with earth science, but for the most part, it's chemistry and bio that are required. 2 years are required at the CSU and the UC level, so that's already done, but definitely recommend you take 4 years of a science. Take AP chemistry, AP bio, biotechnology, physics. There's a lot of courses that you can take. Even computer science counts as a science, so more is better. Okay, E. E is one of the most important things you should do. So 2 years is required at both the high school level and the CSU and the UC. But if you take 4 years of a language in high school, you will get your biliteracy stamp awarded to you on your diploma, and you never have to take a language ever again at CSUs and UCs. If you don't take 4 years, they're going to catch you and you have to take at least 1 semester of a language. I think everybody would rather take a language at the high school level than at the college level. So definitely recommend that everyone take 4 years of a language. Super important. It has to be the same language. You can't do like French 1 and then Spanish 1 and then Mandarin. You have to do 4 years of the same language. Visual arts and performing arts. This is not as an important one, but we do at the high school level require 1 year. I don't think you need to take 4 years of dance or theater. We do offer 4 years theater at the high school level, but this one's a little bit of a different one. I would say this is like your electives. I would save your electives for courses that are more specific to your major. So get into the AP chemistries, AP bio, environmental science, psychology, all that kind of stuff so do 1 year of some sort of art, either beginning art or music, theater, choir, all that kind of stuff. You could do that, and then don't worry about doing more than that for your visual and performing arts. G is just any more classes that are basically E through F. So any college prep classes, and we have a ton at the high school level. So that's just like environmental science, AP psychology, AP physics, all of those. They don't have to be APs. They could be like our sociology you could take, another history class, world cultures. So you'll have tons of those. Okay. So those are our requirements. And then let's continue on. So high school recommendations. Okay, AP exams. AP exams are super important because specifically English and calculus and everything else, you'll get college credits, obviously. At the UC and the CSU, private universities are a little bit different. Not all private schools actually accept college credits from AP exams, but at the CSU, UC's community college, it does help. If you are not wanting to take AP exams, I definitely recommend you take English and calculus at least. The reason for this is because if you pass the AP English exam with a 3 or better, your entrance exam for English is waived and you are placed into freshman English at the college level. For AP Calc, AB, a 3 or better waives the entrance exam for math and you are placed into Calculus 1. For BC, Calc BC, if you score a 4 or better, your entrance exam is waived and you are placed into Calculus 2. So super important. This is the best way. You don't want to be spending your summer preparing for these exams. You want to get rid of these exams. So I would definitely recommend you don't have to take both AP English 3 or 4. I definitely recommend 3 versus 4, just with knowing the teachers there and the curriculum. But yeah, passing those exams is super helpful and important. But if you decide you do not want to take any APs and you want to focus on SATs and ACTs, this is why I'm recommending everyone take it even though it's not required. If you don't pass your AP English or AP Calc exams, you can waive your entrance exams with your SATs and ACTs. So to waive your English entrance exam at the UC level, you need to score about 680 on the English portion and then a ACT score of 30. Average. It's about average. Every UC is a little bit slightly either below or above this, but for the most part, these are averages. At the state school level, you need a 550 on the SATs and then a 22 at least on the ACT. So that will waive your entrance exams if you don't pass, say you get an 8 in AP English, but you don't pass the exam. It's okay. You have other ways you can waive that exam. For our math entrance exam, and to also enroll in Calculus 1, at the UC level, you need a 650 about on the SAT, and then on the ACT, about a 29. On the state level, you need at least a 570 on the SAT and a 23 on the ACT. So another way to kind of waive those extra exams that you don't want to take. Other than that, like I said in the last slide, your A through D courses take 4 years. Specifically, our foreign language, take the 4 years. It is so much easier. I took 4 years of French. I did not enjoy it, but when I got into all my universities, UC Irvine waived languages for me as well as multicultural studies, which was really nice. And when I transferred over to Berkeley, they waived it for me as well. So it's one less class that you have to take, and it's less stressful because, to be honest with you, foreign languages are pretty intense at the university level. It's very long. It's about 4 units. You have to put in a lot of effort. You're spending at least like 8 hours in that class, which is a lot, to be honest with you. They're more strict on oral and verbal communication at the foreign language. So I would definitely take the 4 years at the high school level. Other than that, when you are applying for colleges, most people apply with the same academics. Most of the time you will be average at universities, which is totally fine. Everyone has kind of the same level. These schools, they kind of accept the same kind of people, but when they're doing the first phases of applications, they're looking at the academics. Are you smart? Are you capable of this major? Are you going to be able to succeed with us? You got through that phase, you're in the next phase. What is special about you that, why should we take you than the other person who has the same exact academics as you? Leadership and volunteer is where you shine. For leadership, responsibility, productivity, leading, not only do you want to be in extracurricular clubs, you also want to hold leadership positions in them. That's super important. The biggest clubs that we see on applications are NHS and CSF. Those are national clubs. Almost every single person at the UC level has those clubs on their resume. But what makes it different is those people that are president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, that are holding positions at these very, very large clubs. So that's super important. Other than that, volunteer. It shows passion, self-confidence, happiness. There are studies that say that volunteering actually makes you a happier person. These universities want well-rounded people. They don't want only the smart people. They want people that know how to deal with other people, that know how to communicate, that will be successful, that have potential to be actually working adults in the work field. Admission counselors want people, and admission officers want people that they want to talk to, right? A lot of jobs are offered to working college students on campus. A lot of them. There are a lot of students that work on campus, and admission officers think about, okay, would I want to be working with this person? Would this person fit in with us? So it's very important. Volunteer also, you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be kind of like volunteering with the Red Cross or something like that. You could do internships. There's a lot of internships that you could do. Most of my volunteer was in internships. I volunteered with a dentist, with a dermatologist, a plastic surgeon. So most of my volunteer was internships, which is totally fine. I also did the college career class at Irvine. It's Heritage. It was taught by Schneider, but if you have an academy, basically it's the academy class. You spend one semester learning like how to make a resume, like business skills, and then the second semester, Heritage or Liberty or Freedom, they actually place you into internships in the area, which is super, super nice and actually is a plus on your application. So, competitive profiles. What these schools are looking for are academics. You want to have high GPAs, advanced courses. Definitely, if you're looking at the UC levels in private universities, do not take an unscheduled. I did not take one unscheduled. If I wanted a super easy class, I took at least a staff assistant. You're still on campus. It shows that you're not kind of lazy, you're doing something. But most staff assistant courses, most of the teachers don't actually, use their students as much. It's kind of a chill period, but that is better to be on campus and earning units than being unscheduled. If you're taking the unscheduled and taking, say, class at the community college, that's totally fine. Good, that's great. But don't take an unscheduled and kind of do nothing with it. You have to prove that you're doing something. Either you're doing an internship during that hour and a half off. Do something with that. And then again, even though the SATs and ACTs are not going to be required for the next 4 years, I would definitely do them because you can waive your entrance exams. And also, it's another thing that adds onto your application that proves to these colleges that you are ready for college. You are prepared. We also have experiences. You want to be in leadership, volunteer, clubs, sports. They want to see potential. They want to see personality, character, talent, passion, commitment. Academics and experience shows people that you are, what type of personality you have, the character that you have, the talent that you have, the passion, the commitment. They want to see potential. They want well-rounded people that will be successful. A lot of people, even right now, most people don't actually stop at the bachelor's, the undergraduate level. A lot of people go into master's and PhD programs and grad schools. So they want people that are going to be able to handle that, go into the world and be successful and be like a true working adult that knows how to communicate, that knows how to think outside the box, not just strictly academics. I know a lot of people that have gotten accepted to, or actually have applied to graduate schools. They are perfect students, 4.0, the highest of their class and everything. When they go into interviews, because again, every single program like that will have interviews. When you get into interviews, they don't know how to talk, or they don't know how to express their feelings, or they weren't really an outgoing person, or didn't know how to deal with people. They don't get accepted because of the interviews. They are perfect on paper, but if you don't have that skill, they're going to catch you. And remember, you are an investment for them. You are going to give back later on. So they want to make sure that you are capable and that you're actually going to be successful and do something with their reputation and so on and so forth. So that's super important. Okay, so university profile. We're going to look into specifically the state schools and the UCs, and I'm actually going to show you guys a little hint that I used when figuring out what universities I wanted to apply to. But for the most part, I know it's expensive, but for the most part, you should apply to 2 safety schools where your statistics are above that average that they offer. 3 schools where you are you're about average, you fit in and everything, but it might be just kind of like out of luck you don't get in. But you want 3 schools that you are kind of, it's not you're guaranteed, but you fit in, you have the right academic scores and everything. And then you could do 1 to 2 schools where they're your dream schools, but your stats are a little bit low, because again, luck is a very strong thing that plays into admission officers. So you might be lucky and might get accepted to your dream school. So for the most part, I do think you should do a wide variety of different schools depending on your academics, and this is where university profiles actually really help. So for the CSUs, this is 2008 information. This is the most recent that we have. It takes a lot of time to actually build these profiles. But when we look at the state schools, we see that San Diego State University, San Luis Obispo, and San Luis Obispo, those 2 are the top campuses, CSUs. They have higher GPAs. San Luis Obispo has GPA of 4.12, which is almost like a UC. There's some UCs that have a lower average GPA. So these are very, very competitive. So if you're looking for these schools, specifically San Diego, I knew people that had very high GPAs that did not get in. And the reason is San Diego State is a feeder school. It takes a lot of students from around them, a lot of people that went to the San Diego district, school districts, and the people that go to community college around there. So it is a feeder school, so keep that in mind. But San Diego and San Luis Obispo are known to be very, very selective, even more selective than a couple of the UCs. So we have about, if you look at even San Diego, 94,000 people applied in 2018, and only 32 were offered admission, so an admit rate of 35%. But that doesn't mean that 32 people in 32,000 enrolled that following year. It means that were offered admissions, and some of them decided to accept the offer or had other offers. So 35%. It seems not that high, but when we look at when we compare it to the UCs, 35% is pretty high. We have our average SATs and ACTs. You want to be, for a safety school, you want to be above these averages. For a school that you are kind of like your middle, you might get in, you might not get in, you want to be like right at the average. And then for your dream schools, you're either really, really close or it's a little bit, I definitely, if you have, say, a GPA of like 3.2, I think San Luis Obispo might be a little bit too high for you. So keep that in mind. But if you have other things that where you can shine, your personal statement, your SATs, your ACTs, then go for it. Your GPA is just one thing. All of these are just one thing altogether. It's a collective package where they look at it. So don't keep that the thing that, just make sure that you have a full package. Okay, now we are looking into the UC. So this is again 2018, and we have Berkeley, Davis, Irvine, LA, those are our top ones, as well as San Diego and Santa Barbara. If we look at Riverside and Merced, those are a little bit of our newer schools. UC Irvine is actually considered one of the younger schools, but it's built its reputation for being only 55 years old. Their GPA is a lot, it's also higher than Davis's average GPA, so it's 4.0 to 4.26. When I got, I had a 4.23 when I graduated from Heritage. I was number 12 in my graduating class. There was 600 of us. I was number 12. I got accepted to Davis, Irvine. I didn't apply to Merced. I got into Riverside because that was my guarantee. I got into Santa Cruz. I got into Santa Barbara. I got waitlisted to UC San Diego, but I decided to basically fill out the waitlist, and I got into UC San Diego, but I decided to go to Irvine. So the only schools that rejected me were Berkeley and LA my first time around. But again, 2 years later, I applied to Berkeley as a transfer student and I got in. So their admit rate for these schools are a bit low. We see 15% for Berkeley, 14% for LA, and then the highest one is Merced, 67%. Merced is known to be the least selective of the UCs just because it doesn't have its reputation out there yet, but it's still considered a UC. So it has a good reputation in education. All the UCs do. Again, we have our ACTs and SATs, but the most important thing that the UC actually shows us is, we go to Google, and you type in freshman profiles UC. This is super important. This is what I use to figure out what schools I'm going to apply. You go to freshman class profiles. Okay, you're gonna go down all the way here, and it's gonna say view freshman admit data and profiles. It's gonna be the same exact chart that you see, but now you can go specifically. So let's say we pick Davis. This is the same information that I showed you guys, but over here, we can go fall 2018 Davis admits. This is a bit more detailed. So over here, this is what I used. So in 2018, 78,000 people applied, and a little bit more than 32,000 were admitted, 41%, which is pretty high for a UC. And then we look into our details. Remember, this is just one thing out of many things that they look in. GPA. So 4.0 and above, you are 75%. You have a 75% chance of getting in. You're not guaranteed, but a likelihood of getting in. Your chances are higher just because you have a 4.0 GPA than somebody who has a 3.0 to 3.29. So every university is a little bit different. I know Berkeley is for 4.0 and above, it's only like 22% because again, their admit rate is a little bit lower. And it has the same thing for ACTs, the composite score, as well as the English score and the SATs, and as well as our A through G and honor courses. Don't worry about honor courses. The Liberty Union District doesn't offer for the most part, except for I believe Liberty does. But at Heritage, we don't offer honor courses. We have through our A through G, but don't worry about the number. Most people, if you're taking 4 years of everything, you're going to max out. You're going to have more than 50. So again, this is a good this is a good guide to kind of let you know what schools are your safety, as well as your kind of like your in-between schools, as well as your dream schools. So this is a very, very good tool to use. Okay. And now we're going to go into our Q&A. So these are a couple of questions that were sent in to us, and then I will answer the questions that were sent in during this presentation. So first one, how hard is college compared to high school? Okay, so going to Heritage and then going into Irvine, I didn't think that it was super difficult. I got really, really good grades my first year. I was taking biology and chemistry, so hard classes. It's not hard or easy, but it's very fair. So the most important thing is that these professors are actually wanting to be there. There isn't any lazy professors, to be honest with you, in my experience. Most of my professors have never had like a day off. Even if they're sick, they come in. So my advice to you guys is not to think easy or hard, but to think to ask if it's fair. I think it's very fair. They give you all the materials. They do an excellent job of teaching. But I do think that specifically with my experience with Heritage, I think the AP courses do prepare you, their level of difficulty do prepare you for the college experience. So yeah, I do think that it's much more fair, and again, there's curves, all that kind of stuff. So if the class is not doing too well as a whole, it tells the professor that something that they're lacking in, so they do curve. So high schools don't do that, so they don't care what the curve is. They just grade. If the whole class is failing, most teachers do something about that, but for the most part, not really. But yeah, I do think that college is extremely fair. Second question, what is your experience with transferring from UC to UC? So there was 20 people that decided to transfer from UC Irvine to UC Berkeley my year. Only 2 people got in, and I was one of those people. Going from a quarter system to a semester system, even though it is a sister school, is a little bit hard when they catch you in the units. I did not accept my Berkeley admissions until I talked to every single dean at Berkeley, biology and chemistry specifically, that they were going to accept my courses. So I made sure I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to spend an extra year. So it was a lot of information, and a lot of the counselors don't have this experience with dealing UC to UC because a lot of people don't do it, to be honest with you. I loved Irvine. If I can go back and stay at Irvine and finish my 4 years, I would have. But when I got to Irvine, especially with my lab professors, just building connections and communications with them, most of your professors will have some sort of degree from Berkeley. So being from the Bay Area, they kind of pushed me into applying because they were talking about, oh, it's Berkeley, the opportunities are endless. You're from the Bay Area, why don't you try it? So I did. I got in. It was the only school that I applied to as a transfer student and graduated. It's a lot of work that you have to put in just to make sure that your classes transfer over. Your GPA actually carries over with you, which is nice and not nice, depending on how well you did at your previous school. But your rate is not that high because you're actually taking a spot from someone who wanted to get accepted from a community college, right? They don't actually, and you proved, those 20 people that transferred from Irvine to Berkeley proved that they're ready for their college. They had high GPAs, every single one of them. But the reason is you already have a spot at a UC. So they kind of take only a small amount of people that they really think will be a good fit. So to be honest with you, I don't recommend it unless you really have a dream school to go for it. It's just a lot of busy work and kind of staying on top of it. There isn't really someone to guide you through the process because it's not something that most people do. But yeah, if you really want to go to a specific school, I think the best option would be community college first, and then to a UC, rather than UC to UC. It's just a little bit hard. So I would definitely consider that. Did you take the ACT? If so, how different was it from the SAT? I took both. I took the ACT first and then the SAT. They're different in terms of what is covered. So the ACT is scored from 1 to 36. It's about 3.5 hours, and that is with the essay. Again, if you're taking ACT and SAT, take the full test, take the essay. Most schools before COVID-19 required the essay, so definitely take it. So it's about 3.5 hours. It's a lot fast-paced compared to the SAT. It's actually more questions. The biggest thing that's different from the SAT is the ACT has a science portion. The questions aren't going to be like, oh, what is mitochondria, or what is photosynthesis? It's going to give you passages, and they're going to test your ability of reading comprehension using science passages. So I remember mine was a lot on like physics studies and all that kind of stuff, and you have to kind of digest the material, but it's not like a science test. And I hadn't taken physics, so it's just making sure that you know how to read, and you'll be learning in college how to read these journals and these scientific papers and everything, but that's basically what the science portion is. The SAT is just English and math and your essay, but the SAT is known to have extreme vocab, much more sophisticated than the ACT, and it's scored from 400 to 1600. It's about 4 hours, and that is with the essay, but it is a little bit more, less questions and a more amount of time. For both of them, there is no penalty for guessing, so they did change it. That was about 4 years ago. There used to be a penalty, but there is no longer a penalty for guessing. So if you run out of time, make sure you just bubble in some random questions. Answers. Okay, the next one. How should we buff our college apps is more better? So more is definitely better, but also quality over quantity. For the UCs, you will have about 20 basically spots where you can fill in awards, extracurriculars, activities, all that kind of stuff. Whereas the Common App, you only have 10. So if you do have 20, great. But when you get to do the Common App and you only have 10, you want to pick the best ones, the ones where you held leadership positions. So, and there's going to be descriptions where you kind of write a brief description of what you did in that club, or who were you in that club, what was your position. So definitely try to fill in all of those. Do leadership, do volunteer, do internships, all of that. Don't stick with one thing, and show commitment. So stick with something where it's kind of do something for long periods of terms, because it shows that your commitment. So if you do decide to do volunteer, maybe don't do it like every month you're switching off. Do something long term, because it shows commitment. So definitely consider your strongest suits when you're doing your application. But yeah, quality always over quantity. Tips for essay writing. Okay, so the biggest tip that I can give you guys for essay writing is don't write about COVID-19. A lot of people will be writing about COVID-19, specifically for the next couple of years. Don't do that unless you did something big that helped people in COVID-19. So don't do cliches, and don't iterate what you talked about in your application. So don't be like, oh, I was a 4.1 student, I ran 3 clubs, I was like captain of the football team, all that kind of stuff. They already saw that. They're trying to figure out, what kind of personality do you have? What's your character like? What's your potential? What's your passion? What do you like to do, and all that kind of stuff. So be interesting. I remember I wrote my application about traveling all over the world every summer with my family. And it kind of showed like that I was culturally aware of my surroundings. I knew how to deal with people. I enjoyed that. I didn't kind of, and then I tied in kind of like what I wrote in my like why I did certain volunteer work and internships because of what I learned growing up, going to different countries. So do like that. I know Miss Rowland, she's an English teacher at Heritage, when she was talking to us about personal statements, she was telling us the year before me, so class of 2014, there was a student that went to UCLA, and his personal statement was about poop and how it tied into science and everything. And it's just weird stuff like that that gets you in. So they want interesting things. They're reading, remember, like 90,000 applications and essays. So you don't want to be boring, and you don't want to be reiterating your stuff, and you want to be humble. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm so great, I'm so great, I'm so great, but you don't also want to undersell yourself. You want to be humble and appreciative of your experiences and your opportunities. So that's super important. How many APs did you take? I took 6, but I didn't have as many, to be honest with you, as many APs as Heritage does now. I took 1 my sophomore year, AP World. 2 my junior year, I took AP Physics and AP English, AP Psychology and AP English. And then my senior year, I took AP Bio, AP Calculus, and AP Physics. Passed all the exams, which was really helpful when I got into college, because I kind of could have graduated 2 quarters ahead, but I was just taking more classes and stuff like that. So it saves me up. I didn't have to take any entrance exams, no English or math exams. I started with second semester English at Irvine, and then I started right away with calculus, which was really nice. Are there any specific AP classes or extracurriculars? Again, AP Calculus and AP English, those will help you with your entrance exams. They'll waive them. For extracurriculars, definitely do different ones. Do volunteer, do your clubs at school, as well as sports and internships. Do a bunch of different ones. Don't do the same thing over and over again. And remember to hold positions in those clubs. What extracurriculars did you put on your application? Again, I did about 4 different internships. I actually worked as a tutor starting from my sophomore year, so that I put that as well. I was in NHS and CSF, but I held positions. I was president of CSF for 2 years. I did an equality group on campus, and a lot of volunteer opportunities. I volunteered a lot at my elementary and middle school, a lot with the teachers, grading papers and all that kind of stuff. So keep yourself busy, but don't keep yourself busy where you can't focus on school. Because remember, the first phase of applications is grades. So focus on that first, and then the extra detail. So it's like you have a cake, and your grades are your cake, but you want to make it pretty. So the icing, the sprinkles, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Did you apply for scholarships or grants? Yes, I did. I applied for the FAFSA. I got a couple of grants where I didn't have to pay them back. When I got into Berkeley, I got the transfer scholarship, which was nice. I didn't have to pay that back, but I took a lot of loans from schools. And I actually did end up I did have some scholarships from Heritage. I got 3 scholarships from senior night, which were helpful. It's not a huge amount. I think they range from like $150 to $500, but they do add up, and it goes directly into your college account. So you can't really spend it on anything other than school. And then my first year at Irvine, you keep getting emails from different scholarships. So I applied to a religious-based scholarship, and I got $2,000, which was super helpful for the following year. Stuff like that just adds up. So the university scholarships are a lot bigger. You can get $2,000, $5,000, $6,000, and those ones are a little bit different. They get cashed into your account for the most part, depending on the rules for the scholarship, which is nice. So you can use it for books, your room, rent, all that kind of stuff, food. So that's super helpful. But yeah, FAFSA and apply to scholarships. Barnes and Noble does scholarships. Taco Bell does scholarships. So just look for them and apply as many as you can. Okay. If you have a lower GPA, let's say 3.3, and you want to raise it up to 4.0, how do you do it? My goal is UCLA. Okay, so it depends. I can't really answer this question because I don't know if that's 10 through 12 GPA, or is that your freshman year GPA, or is that your freshman as well as your sophomore year grade. But typically from a 3.3 to 4.0, your GPA, one bad grade will actually bring you down a lot, and like 10 good grades will barely bring you up. I know it sucks, but that's just how it is. Specifically at the high school and community level, an A is exactly like an A minus. A C minus is just like a C plus. When you get into university, state schools and the UCs and private schools, it's actually different. So your A is not like your A minus. A minus is lower when you're calculating your GPA. Your C is not like your C minus or your C plus. Every single letter grade, except for the exception of A plus and A, those are the two same, everything is slightly lower. So your GPA will get lower depending on the actual sign that you get on the letter grade. So yeah, it is harder to build up your GPA if it's down. If the goal is UCLA, I definitely would recommend going to community college. The community college level transfer rate is very high for UCLA and UC Berkeley at the local community college. So if you really want to go to UCLA, and also don't go to UCLA just because of the name. Okay, all of these schools, if you do that, you're going for the wrong reasons. You're not going to enjoy it as much. So if the only reason why you can't go to UCLA is because of your GPA, definitely go to community college and then transfer over. People have done it. I know people that spent 1 year at community college and ended up going to Berkeley, just 1 year. So it just depends. If you have those AP classes to help you with those units, it will all help. But definitely consider that going to community college. There's nothing wrong with it. It saves you a lot of money. So consider that. Did you ever get homesick when you were away from college? If so, how did you deal with it? Typically, I really didn't get homesick, to be honest with you. I only went one time during my first year, and that was for Thanksgiving. I was just super, super busy, to be honest with you, with school, especially going to a quarter system. You are going to have midterms as soon as you hit week 3, and it's going to be every other week. You're just super busy. And that's a good thing. Being busy, you are less prone to get homesick. Also, we have the really a real privilege to be able to have FaceTime and Zoom to talk to your family. And if you do get homesick, take advantage of those. Put yourself out there. When I got into Irvine, I was the only student from Heritage to go to Irvine. A lot of people got in. Nobody else went with me, so I was completely on my own. Everybody goes to UC Davis. A majority go to UC Davis. I was the only one. Don't get me wrong, I was scared. I was terrified. I was not even 18 yet. I turned 18 later on that year. But I was 17, going to Southern California, never been away from home, and it scared me. But to be honest with you, when you get on campus, it's a totally different feel. A lot of people don't know each other. Everyone's kind of just starting fresh. You meet so many people, and they have so many welcome activities in your dorms at the school that you just meet friends right away. I met one of my best friends in college the first day of moving into dorms. So it's super easy to make friends over there. Just put yourself out there, and you're going to be super basically busy with studying that you really won't get homesick. But also take into account if you think you're going to get homesick, and everybody will get homesick at some point, but if you think that you won't be able to control it, then maybe that's something that you should consider when you're picking for schools. Maybe consider going a little bit closer to home. So yeah, it's a little bit different for everybody, but also consider that when you're picking schools. Dorm essentials. You don't have to really worry about this. Every school is different, but for the most part, you have your bed already given to you with the mattress, a nightstand, a dresser, and then a desk with a table. Almost every single room has that. And when you get your housing offers, typically about 2 months before school starts, they will tell you exactly what you need. It's not much, to be honest with you. You don't really need a lot unless you're moving into a new apartment and you kind of need everything. But don't worry about that. The schools will provide every essential that you need. Did you have a job while taking classes? So when I got into Berkeley, one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Berkeley was because of research. So I spent the first semester kind of just getting used to Berkeley because it was still a transition from Irvine to Berkeley. And then I got straight into research. I ended up working for a emotions psychology department research lab in Berkeley. And that was one of the best things that I could have done, to be honest with you. I did that for my year and a half until I finished Berkeley. The final year, my senior year, I actually got promoted to project manager. It was a different project, but my PhD supervisor asked me to kind of run the project for her. So I was a project coordinator for my final year there, and it was one of the best things that I could have ever done with my time, and that was with taking classes. So I did get units for working there, but then the extra hours, I ended up putting a lot of hours because of project management. I used that as also volunteer hours because it was just extra. And then my last year, I actually ended up tutoring for a local business around here. So I commuted from Brentwood to Berkeley. So I did, on top of research, I did work about 26 hours. I would say about 10 hours of research a week, as well as 26 hours of tutoring, working, and then also being a full-time student. What full-time means in regards to FAFSA and just financial aid, 12 units. But every university is a little bit different in their unit count for full-time. Berkeley is 13. Irvine is 12. So it just really depends on the school. But for financial reasons, full-time means 12 units, which is a full load, to be honest with you. Don't take more classes than you can handle, especially your first kind of quarter. Try to see, it's a different environment and everything. But yeah, the most important thing is, especially when you get to your junior and senior year of college, it's less homework. I barely got any homework my junior and senior year. It was all studying. So you need to make sure that you're putting in the time and scheduling study sessions to keep up with the material, because it adds up. So that's super important to balance that and everything. Our last question for the submitted questions are, how do you balance having fun and doing work? So as someone who is applying to grad schools, and if anybody is going to the medical field, law programs, or masters or anything, I would definitely put schooling priority. Your GPA, what you do in your 4 years is super important. After that, high school doesn't count. As soon as you get into college, high school does not matter. So you need to build yourself up again. Put school first, make it a priority. I know it's going to be time consuming and it's going to be draining, but put school first, but reward yourself. That is the most important advice that I can give you guys. You are going to take these things seriously, your midterms, but as soon as the midterm is finished, even if you score badly, go out and have fun. Just distract yourself, reward yourself. Even if you don't do the best on these midterms, you need a break. Whether it's just going for a walk, going home, going out with friends. Going to Irvine, I had the beach 10 minutes away, 3 beaches next to me, and then I had the malls on the other side. So just go out with friends, have dinner. There's always events on campus, whether it be basketball games and all that kind of stuff. They have concerts and stuff like that. Monthly, they have some big event. So do that. Definitely reward yourself, but put school a priority, especially if you're going into different programs like that after undergrad. So yeah, so it's just finding the balance. Everybody's different, but definitely your first year, which is why I say take it easy your first semester or year, because you're still finding yourself. It's a little bit different from high school, but it is fair. Have fun. You're only in college once, and it's a very nice experience. It's very fun, but always put school first. So I think that's very, very important. So that's all the questions that we have for our submitted questions. I'm going to go into the questions that were submitted through the group chat. So the first one is, if I'm entering junior year, can I do a dual enrollment to finish my GE? Yes, you definitely can. And I've actually heard that I received an email from one of the counselors earlier this year saying that because if you guys have heard, yesterday was the district meeting. They are resuming in-person classes starting August 10th. The first day of school is August 10th, but they're also giving you the option to have 100% in distance learning online. But they're also going to offer you to take courses at LMC, and you get credit for it at the high school level, which is super nice. So it'll be counted for you as requirements and everything. So I would definitely do dual enrollment to finish. You don't have to really finish your GE. Like your AP, if you're taking AP classes like AP psychology, AP bio, AP chemistry, those will help you finish your GEs, definitely. Those will be units towards your GE. So you could definitely do that. But it also depends on why you want to do that, to be honest with you. If you're just trying to finish up with schooling 4 years, I don't recommend it for that reason, or because more than 3.5 years at anything less than 3.5 years at a university is going to be way too stressful. But if you're doing it maybe because you want to spend only 1 year at community college and then go straight into transferring, then yeah, definitely do that. Would you recommend AP classes over dual enrollment? To be honest with you, the only thing is with AP classes, if you don't pass the AP exam, then you don't get credits for it, even if you get an A. But with dual enrollment, if you're taking out a college class, if you pass with a C, you're getting credits for it. So it just depends. I personally would go for the dual enrollment, especially because it's a little bit harder typically, but because of COVID, the counselors at Heritage are actually giving that option. So I would definitely do dual enrollment rather than AP Calculus. For example, my brother's going to be a senior this year, and he's taking pre-calc at LMC right now. And I was telling him, definitely do not do AP Calculus at Heritage. Just do regular calculus at LMC. So you're guaranteed if you put in all the work, you're going to pass and get credits. AP exams, you might be doing really, really good during the whole year. If you don't do so well on the AP exam, then you don't get the credits. So I would definitely do dual enrollment, especially during this time. Another question is, what is the difference between grad and undergrad studies? So undergrad is your first 4 years, and you're basically working toward your bachelor's program. So bachelor's program. Graduate school is basically your master's, anything above. You need your undergrad to get into grad school. So you need your bachelor's degree to get into grad school. So grad school is basically master's, PhD programs, health professional school, law, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the order. You have to go undergrad, then graduate studies. In graduate studies, you don't have to take general education. It's specifically for your major. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to medical school, you're taking stuff that will help you in your field. And those are very, very, very selective. Almost every single grad school requires a lot of recommendations and interviews. Because again, they want well-rounded people that will be successful, not only academically. Have you heard of any scholarships that we should apply to early? There's always scholarships. I know historically with Heritage, the Taco Bell scholarship is very, very popular. Other than that, your first kind of scholarships are going to be for your senior year. You apply in January through Heritage, and it's kind of all community college, community scholarships, local scholarships. It's called the Senior Local Scholarship. And then most students get at least one during, it's like a huge awards night, and you get honored during scholarship night, and that's around either April and May they offer it. So the applications are due in January, and you get to choose which scholarships to apply, different essays, all that kind of stuff, different criteria for each one. Let's see. Does ASL count? Yes, it does. You could take that at LMC, and it will count as a foreign language. Yes. To waive the entrance exams for English, do I need to have scores for both the SAT and the ACT? No, you do not. You just need one of those. You either need SAT, ACT, or your AP exams. If you have all three of them, that's great. It's not going to really do anything, but at least just one of them. So it's kind of like a backup. If you score better on the SAT, it's a buffer if you don't score as well as the ACT. So they could take for, say you did really well in your SATs for English, that checks off for your entrance exam. But say you did better on the ACT for the math, that scores it, that checks it off for the exam as well. So you could do both. You could do, it just depends on how you score. Which scores have higher transfer rates and which schools have better freshman acceptance? Well, all the schools have higher transfer rates because they are going to admit more transfers because these transfer students were at the community college level and they are for surely ready to transfer over to a 4-year. Freshman acceptance are lower when you compare them to transfer rates. And what is Common App? So Common App is basically kind of just like it's just like the UC application and the CSU. It's kind of like a just one application that you send to multiple schools, but the Common App for just the Common App is just for private schools. So it's a list of universities. One application goes for all of them, so you don't have to keep refilling them for these schools. So it's a group of universities that have the same questions, have the same criteria, and you just fill it out. What internships did you do and how did you get them? So again, I did dermatology, plastic surgery, dental, and how I got them. I talked to my dentist. I talked to people around me. I used my connections. Heritage does a really good job of connecting you with people as well. Miss Schneider in the Career Center is a really good option. She has some links in her on the Heritage website under college and career. So it's all about connections and putting yourself out there. Cold email all the dentists around in the area, ask them. Try to do the Kaiser program, the volunteer program, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of work to be putting yourself, but it actually makes you shine in your applications. So put in the effort for that. For San Diego, do you think I should go to community college as well as if I have a 3.4? So again, when we looked at San Diego, their GPA is about 3.9, and that's 2018. Every year, it's slightly higher than the other. I think a 3.4 is a solid GPA for the state schools, but if you really want San Diego, being that it's a feeder school, I would consider going to community college. Again, there's other things that you can look toward that they're going to look for: your volunteer, your extracurriculars, what type of courses you took. Maybe you were taking a lot of advanced courses. So they look at that, your personal statement. So if you want, give it a shot, because remember, luck plays into this. But yeah, consider if you really want to go to San Diego, consider going to community college, because it is a feeder school. Even when you get into transfer, when you're trying to transfer, it's very competitive because they like to take from their area. It's considered a feeder school. So to be honest with you, it just depends if you're the whole package. Let's see. When do I start applying for the FAFSA and other scholarships? So you could do other scholarships from now, to be honest with you, but most people start them like end of junior year, and then you're applying through for scholarships the whole time during college. Every single year you're getting new scholarships. For FAFSA, it's typically, they open up in, I want to say, September. They give you like a good 6 months. And then the deadline is always March 2nd. It doesn't matter if you do it March 1st versus like October 1st. It's the same amount of money you're going to get, but don't do after March 2nd. So March 2nd is the deadline for priority filing. So definitely do that. I recommend every single person to do FAFSA. That is the number one. It's basically student aid. So it's federal. It's very, very, very important. Do it even if you think your parents make too much. Definitely do it. You'll be able to get some loans from there, which is super helpful. Okay, how important are language classes? Is 2 years of a language other than English okay? Or is having 3 really a deal breaker? Again, I recommend taking 4 because you really don't want to take it in college. Okay, you get your biliteracy award stamped into your diploma, which is really not a big thing, but taking the 4 years out of in high school is one less class you have to worry about at the university level, and they are intense. They are very intense. They put a lot of emphasis on teaching them orally and written languages. So I know 2 is what's required, but again, if you want to, if you're applying to a school where you fit in everything, then it's not going to be a deal breaker. But depending on, remember the cake, you have the cake and you want to add more things. You want to be the best of the best, okay? People have the same GPA as you, same scores and everything. What makes you different? You want to go above and beyond. So it's not a deal breaker because remember, we're looking at the whole package, but it's something that adds up. Okay. But if you're taking, say, like, if you can't fit it in because you're taking APs, then definitely go for the APs. Yeah, but it just depends if you have the room. Okay. Would you recommend that I did dual enrollment for LMC for chemistry instead of AP Chem? I'm decent at chemistry, but I don't want to hurt my GPA. My college counselor told me to take a core AP science class on top of 3 other APs since I'm applying to more competitive schools. AP Chemistry, Miss Sanders is a really good teacher at Heritage, but AP Chemistry is known to have very poor pass rates. It's just complex. I would definitely take it at the community college if you can. There's a lot of great professors. My brother was taking chemistry at LMC, and I think they did a really good transition online. They were doing labs and everything. The professors are really good, and they're prepared. So a lot of college classes are already online, and most of almost every single student in college has an online program where the grades are posted, where our lecture notes are posted. So they had that already placed, all these professors. So it's going to be much more, I think, easier to learn from a professor during these times because they're just so used to online teaching versus the high school teachers. They don't have that experience yet. So I would definitely, if you're taking 3 other APs, then yeah, definitely take chemistry at LMC. It's a very important topic and it's complex, but I would definitely take it at LMC. Yeah, and you'll get the college credits just for passing a C versus even if you understood it perfectly in high school and you got an A, but if you really didn't do good on the AP exam, all your work is gone. Your GPA is higher, but you have to retake it again at college. Let's see. Should I take AP classes and not take the exam so that I boost my GPA, but then take the college level class for credit? You could, but to be honest with you, taking the class and then not taking the exam is a waste of time. You already put in the work. You're just relearning the material slightly differently, but most of the AP courses do use the college textbooks. So I think if you want the GPA boost and you really want to take the AP classes, then definitely try to take the exam. Try to pass the exam. That is the most important thing. But I do think that college admissions, if they see college courses, it doesn't matter if you have, it's not like if you have, they do take 4.0 students. So if you're taking all regular classes, but you're taking dual enrollment at community college, there's nothing higher. You can't get higher than a 4.0. They're looking at that. They will see that your course is a college course. So again, these are averages. Not a lot of people do the dual enrollment. That's why you can't say like, oh, my GPA is not going up. They will see that you're taking college classes. You're on a different level than everybody else. So your 4.0 or your 3.9, whatever is going to be, they're going to look at that. So don't worry. They look at the whole application as a whole, what schools you're coming from, and all that kind of stuff. So when you go into grad schools, think about it like this. Say someone has a 3.7 from UC Berkeley versus, or even a 3.4 at UC Berkeley versus a UC Irvine grad that has a 3.9. Historically, and just everyone knows that UC Berkeley is a lot tougher. Some graduate officers might take that UC Berkeley 3.4 rather than the UC Irvine 4.0 student just because of the level of difficulty. They take into account what school you graduated from, as well as the high school you graduated from. So don't worry about that. Everything is looked at. Okay. When do you think is the best time to take LMC classes for dual enrollment? Again, I think depending on the classes, I don't think you should be taking, I think summer is a really good starting point. But again, because of the counselors offering courses because of COVID, you're already going to be online to do dual enrollment, then I would definitely do the fall. But remember, don't take more than you can handle. I would start with one course because it is a college course and it's a lot of work. and then build your way up. So I would definitely do the basic courses, just like your maths, your sciences, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it just depends on you, but start off easy. You want to build yourself up, and you don't want to, your most important thing is to try to build your GPA, but in a way that shows that you're competitive and you're taking hard classes. But your GPA, it says a lot about you. Do you know if AP Bio is easier than AP Chemistry? I took AP Bio. I had a lot of friends in AP Chemistry. AP Bio does have historically a really high pass rate at Heritage. I think it's about 85%. AP Chem does not have that high of a rate. But I like AP Chemistry more than AP Bio, to be honest with you. I just like the topic. I'm a bio major, graduated with bio, but I took 2 years of chemistry. I took general chemistry 1 whole year and a whole year of organic chemistry. And I wish I kind of changed my major to be a chem major because I just really love chemistry and it's just more interesting. Chemistry is more math-based and thinking about the problem and everything, whereas bio is mostly memorization. So it depends on what type of a person you are and if you like memorization or you like to play with the question and kind of think about it and stuff like that. So it really just depends. But in terms of easier, I think they're both fair. Both teachers are really good. And I think they are fair, but AP Chem is just a little bit more complex because there's a lot of thinking to do rather than just AP Bio, which is straight memorization. But I think AP Chem is one of those courses, as well as AP Calculus, that should be taken at the community college level, especially because you have that option right now. So AP Chem, I would consider taking chemistry and calculus at the community college. Yeah, yeah, I would definitely do that, especially right now with the opportunity that we're given. Have you heard about AP Seminar and AP Research and the capstone degree? I've not heard about the capstone degree, but I have heard about AP Seminar and AP Research. The only thing is they're kind of new and they're not accepted by a lot of universities. So it's kind of iffy. But I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I wouldn't waste your time with those type of classes because they're not accepted by a lot of universities. I would focus more on like the academic goal. AP Bio, AP Chemistry, AP English, AP Calc, AP even Psychology is a really good AP course to take. It has a very high pass rate. I know AP European History with Miss Phillips has a very, very high pass rate. I think she has like a 100% or like 96% pass rate. She's a really good teacher. AP Psychology has a really good pass rate as well. I think it's in the 80s too. So I'd take those type of courses. I heard AP Environmental Sciences also. That was a pretty new one. I heard that one has a high pass rate as well. So yeah, I wouldn't waste your time with classes like AP Seminar. My sister took AP Seminar last year, and I think it was a complete waste of her time. Just knowing that most schools don't accept that. So it really just depends on your major and what you want from your courses. So it really just depends. But I've not heard about the capstone degree. But yeah. And that seems like the last of our questions. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to submit any more to the group chat. But what I will do is, yeah, all done. I just want to say a special thanks to the Learning Community Project. This is a great example of a organization and a group of students that are taking what happened with COVID-19 and making a difference and showing initiative and potential. This is a very, very great thing to be doing, and it's going to make their applications shine even brighter. So things like this where you're making differences and you're helping people, especially right now, we just yesterday found out that all these elementary schools and middle schools are going to be 100% distance learning. These kids don't know how to deal with like online learning and everything, and the teachers really don't. So tutoring like this free of charge helps people that can't afford these high tutoring rates. And it also shows that you care, you're volunteering. It's another thing to put in your application, and you're using your time to actually just, better the community and everything. So the Learning Community Project is a very, very great example of volunteer experience and just giving back to the community. So I think that's super important. And thank you so much for hosting me. I think they're really, really great organization. So yeah. I just got a question. Would you help us create a college prep Excel sheet? Yeah, definitely. I could give me a couple of days and I'll kind of make a file for you guys specifically on like UCs and state schools, kind of like a checklist of what you need. But also if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me. That's my email. If you have some brainstorm questions about personal statements, anything like that, or how you feel like a certain part of the application, let me know. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I'll be posting this presentation. I'll be sending it to the Learning Community Project to post on their website, if that will help anybody with the information, everything. But yeah, yeah. So if any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm very open with my emails, and I respond to them pretty quickly. But yeah, I'll definitely work on putting an Excel sheet for you guys. But yeah. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. But other than that, oh, one more question. Okay, no, that's it. Feel free to let me know, and that's all that we have. Okay, so I'll be ending up the meeting. But everybody stay safe. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you.